Welcome back to Dad in the Rock. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And we're back, baby.
It's
After like
been a
a
while.
6-month hiatus or something.
6 months? Yeah, I don't know. It may have been longer than that. Who knows?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. We've got a little less hair, a few extra pounds.
A little more gray, a little longer beard, the whole deal, those
Yeah.
Midwest winters are, locking in on me.
We are back. Tonight we're gonna BS a little bit about what we've been up to. Talk a little bit about our lives and our families and talk about each other. Maybe have a little bit of a therapy session and then afterwards we'll talk about The Last of Us, which is Joel had therapy.
Yeah, there was some therapy with Joel.
Yeah.
If you don't know who we are, we're Dad and Rock. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to it, we're going to be posting these on podcasts again. We're going way back. We're going back to the roots.
Yeah, you guys know what a podcast is?
So just check us out wherever you like us and leave us a comment or whatever.
What have you been up to for 6 months?
A lot of youth, the soccer kids.
Yeah.
Zach is all in on his soccer trainings. He's being a goalie, and a goalie within youth soccer is thankless, and there's no real training for him. So if you want to give him training, you have to pay extra for it, which is a pain. I mean, it's not cheap, and then definitely in the winter, and in Ohio, everything's indoors, and you got to find where you can find just get him in. And he's put a lot of work in, and we were watching some game tape before we went live here today, and he's come a long ways. It's fun watching the progression of what he's doing right now.
You're soccer dad.
Yes,
In more ways than one. You also follow the crew.
Oh yeah,
like you're like a roadie.
Like a roadie without the benefits.
Well, I don't know. You haven't told me about any strange circumstances, but
oh boy, yes. We got that going on. Skylar, she's all into her softball. She's doing her trainings as well indoors. So it's with youth sports, it's just not cheap. So my time and money is completely wrapped up in those two doing their things.
Yeah.
What you been up to?
What have I been up to? The holidays were a blur. Mostly just trying to get my daughter into different things. She's getting older now, so she's way more on like online with her friends and stuff. We got her a laptop for Christmas, so she gets on that sometimes. She's on her tablet still. I don't know if I should say on here. She's not going to hear this. Anyway, she's got a Christmas gift coming up, or she's got a birthday gift coming up that I don't want to say what it is.
What it's called, just in case she stumbles upon this.
He happens to stumble upon this video. But yeah, she's a little social bug now. She's got a little group of friends. She's doing drama at school. She this weekend actually we went to go see a couple of her friends. They play in this local nonprofit called the Louisville Leopards, where they're all like a percussionists. So it's like drums, marimbas, like steel drums too, like in Jamaica and stuff. Like all these different like the percussion instruments. And they're really, really good. And they have like 10 different teachers or so. And it was kids from, I don't know, like from age like 6 or 7 all the way up through like seniors in high school. That were like playing all these songs. They did a full concert. We were in the front row. It was fun. We did that Sunday. They were in the Brown Theater here in Louisville.
Okay. Doesn't your daughter go to like I want to say a select, like I would think of more like a STEM school almost, like here in
Ohio?
Kinda.
It's a K through 12 school and it's downtown. So she goes to the same school from kindergarten and she'll go all the way through senior year. So and they're very it's like independent learning. Which we were wondering how she would do with that, especially if she's, my kid and my wife's kid, as far as just like concentrating and not having somebody direct you. But she gets awesome grades, so it's working so far. So we're happy.
That's awesome. Well, I got a funny story. I don't even know if I've told you about this. So during our spring break, I took my daughter Skylar down to a place called Camp Kern. It's a YMCA summer camp throughout the summer that they stay, pretty much the week. But they did a spring break thing. So he took him down in the morning, pick him up in the afternoon or late or early evening. So I was taking Skylar down there, and when there's like some roadkill or something like that on the road itself, and you can't avoid it, you
Yeah.
go ahead and you try to put it in between your wheel wells, and you
Yeah.
well, I smacked the hell out of this thing, and
What was it?
a son of a mother, a beaver. I beat the hell out of this beaver, and my car hasn't been the same. I jacked up my tires, so I had to go ahead and I wound up getting a set of new tires on my car. But I mean, it was like this. I couldn't believe it. I came back and I was looking at the side of the road because I couldn't believe what the size of this thing was. So I look over,
Yeah.
big ass flat tail. I'm like,
Oh no.
I couldn't believe it. And when I went to the mechanic, I said, I got a story for you. You won't believe. He was like, what? I said, I hit a beaver. He looked at me like, not a squirrel, raccoon, possum, deer, a damn beaver.
That's messed up. I guess you don't realize, but they are pretty big. The only way I know how is from playing Red Dead Redemption, where you hunt a beaver and Arthur had to like sling it over his shoulder and walk around. Like they're pretty big.
This thing was just pure, it was just muscle. And
Yeah.
my car has made a weird sound since. It's like they took it for a drive. There's nothing wrong with it. But when you're driving a vehicle for so long and something happens and then it's not right afterwards, and it just by
Yeah, you
the
can
touch of
feel
the
it.
gas
You know
pedal.
it. Yeah.
So there's something amiss, but nothing wrong. So who knows if my car is going to die on me at a certain point or not, but we'll find out. And if not, the beaver got its revenge.
That's true. We are live, by the way. Feel free to comment if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, or I don't even know how it works on X
I
anymore.
don't
If you're
even
able to
think
comment
we're
on
not
stuff.
even on X anymore because I am not
Did you
paying.
delete it?
I think I may have because I think they may have done it ourselves because that was one of those we weren't going to pay for the premium, and I
Right.
deactivated my account months ago, so
Oh, okay.
it's not even showing
I might have
across the
to
top anymore.
update our socials then. Maybe you'll find us on I don't know what else is out there. Snapchat. We're dads. We don't know social
Yeah,
media.
right. It's starting to pass us by.
Catch us on the Facebook, kitties.
It's just on that book of faces.
Yeah. That's like the Facebook has become like the old people social media. Like I find like nieces and nephews on there and stuff, but they don't post anything. They're never on there. They just happen to have one for family, I think. Like a profile
That's
just for family.
honestly, that's why I have mine. It's for
Yeah.
family purposes, and that's about it. I've got enough family that are scattered.
Yeah, scattered like the wind.
So you want to talk a little about this show here? We got our thumbnail.
I suppose so. Yeah, we got a thumbnail about it. We got it here at title. Do you guys want to talk? Well, did people? I guess people were watching, then they dipped out.
Yeah, they're like,
these guys aren't talking about Joel and Ellie.
Let's jump
The
into
Last
this.
of Us. We didn't cover season 1. Well, we did sort of, not in the full coverage, but you did.
I did a weekly like short on it because I haven't played the games. I know nothing about it. I know only thing I know about this, the games is the show.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's fresh to me, the whole deal. Now, you're the exact opposite, though. You played the games, did you not?
I played the games. Well, technically, I played the first game and I watched a playthrough of the second game because it was, but I saw these games are very story centric. I mean, like when you're playing, you're basically just playing in between cutscenes. Like there's tons. So watching a playthrough versus playing the game, I don't find that there was much difference because I've done a little bit of both. But yeah, I'm well aware of like what happened in the first game and the second game. Yeah.
Okay, so you have an idea on what's going to happen, what's coming forward. I'm on the other hand,
Mhm.
like I tried to avoid everything I possibly can, but I know there is something coming for a character, one of our main characters, but I don't know when it's going to happen. I thought maybe it was going to happen at the end of last season, which I was wrong about.
Right.
But I know Joel has some type of something coming for him, or something.
What? A train?
Yeah,
A beaver?
a beaver, a big old bushy beaver. But
a mushroom infected beaver.
Oh man, but yeah. So I'm watching it, And
How did you a little taste of how you liked the first season? I mean,
first
for
season,
those who didn't watch your shorts.
it hooked me. I enjoyed it. I'm watching. I love the dynamic right out the gate. I love, Joel, his brother, and Joel's daughter. That was heart wrenching
Oh,
on
yeah, 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 yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
happened then. And then when Joel, reluctantly takes Ellie, and they
Right.
start on their journey, and then the relationship that builds between the two of them. I enjoyed all that. And then there was
Yeah.
that one off episode where it was I don't know the
Where
names
Nick
of
Offerman, I
yeah,
forget his character name too, but yeah,
but
that episode was great.
yeah.
That's
That
just a
was so-
great episode of television.
that yeah, you could have plugged that in anywhere.
Yeah,
And any type of like apocalyptic type of show, and it would have worked. So
yeah,
then I mean that was heart wrenching. So the whole deal, and even the way it ended when Joel finally got Ellie to the Fireflies,
the Fireflies, yeah.
and he decides they're not gonna. I don't remember exactly what. I don't know if they had to kill her to go ahead.
Basically, they were gonna, like, cut up her brain to study her for science to try to figure out how to get a cure going because
Okay,
she's, immune, and Joel was like, after all this time, he was just like, "Not about that."
it's like
It's
yeah, no,
like,
this
"No, I've already lost one daughter, I'm not gonna lose this one," and, yeah, so he makes some very difficult decision, and boy, I mean, we see the repercussions of it in the very beginning of this episode.
yeah. So I mean that whole season, I enjoyed all of that,
Yeah.
and last night was jarring.
Really?
Last night, I'll put it this way, and this I don't know if this is gonna be controversial or what, or how you guys are gonna take it. If last night's episode 1 was season 1, episode 1, I would not watch episode 2.
Wow, that's wow, you were you bored?
I was bored. I was disinterested in the pouty Joel, thing that was going
Mhm,
on. I was disinterested in the rebellious Ellie. And
mhm.
the 5-year gap in between, I think, hurts someone like myself because we have no concept on why these two are no longer getting along. Besides, she's now 19, which okay, I kind of get it, and it's not they're not technically family, but he's kind of taking care of her.
Yeah,
The haphazard attitude now towards these infected, it's almost like they're not a big deal anymore. Unlike in the first season where like they took him seriously, they were scared of him, they avoided him at all costs, and now they're just kind of making fun of him, throwing bottles and attacking him from behind with a knife.
yeah.
There was a lot about this episode, or even when Joel was like, I don't know if he's not quite the mayor. I don't know when he was sitting in that office and they were having that conversation about we can't take any more in, we got to take care of our own, and he was reminded that he was a refugee as well. And I'm like,
Right.
I, he lost it, the whole show lost me in one episode. Like
Wow,
I'm going
that's
back
big
for
time.
episode 2, and I'm going to continue watching.
Yeah.
But like I said, if this was season 1, episode 1, I would not watch episode 2.
Well, I can tell you this is just place setting. What this is catching you up on what's been going on the last 5 years, and I think it's supposed to be a mystery as to why there's such hard feelings. But I think if you think about it real hard, you can guess why there's hard feelings between, Joel and Ellie, and it's I don't wanna
Well,
straight up
Ellie knows
tell you,
he's
but
lying to her about the situation with the Fireflies. I pretty much connected those dots.
yeah, right, and that's a big deal because it's basically he's taken away not only did he potentially doom humanity, right,
Yeah.
which is, kind of a big deal, but, he took that choice from her, you know what I mean? Like, he was the one to swoop in and just, like, kinda make a choice for her, taking away her agency, and, she's pissed off about it, and, that's I will say the second game hit different. It was a very different the game mechanics and were all there. You played Ellie most of the time as opposed to playing Joel. But I will tell you the story hit a lot of fans different than the first one. First one is a fairly simple story, right? It may be stretched out into 10 episodes and they did it very well, but it wasn't very tough to understand. You know what I mean? Like a guy loses his daughter in the
Mhm.
apocalypse. He comes across a new daughter figure, and they spend episodes reluctantly trying to get used to each other until finally they form a bond where
Yeah.
he feels that like that's a very
And he's looking
you
for his brother. You know, he's trying to
exactly
he's
that
trying to combine the whole family back, his family unit that he knows that's left.
yeah. The trouble with that is like that's a very nice beginning, middle, and end, and there was a nice end to that story. And as far as a complete package, it went down well. Plus
Mhm.
some zombies, some good gameplay. Like that's why it was, I don't know if it was game of the year, but it was very acclaimed game, right? Second one came out, and boy, you talk about divisive. It's like The Last Jedi divisive as
Really?
far as
It was like that?
there people were like, "This is a masterpiece. This is amazing. I can't believe they took the story to this depth, and they branched out these characters, and they're really kind of like swinging for the fences." And then you got the other ones where it's like, this sucks. This isn't like The Last of Us, But you're when it comes to sequels, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you
Yeah.
don't. You know what I mean? You have to make it similar enough to the first one where it feels like the first one, but you can't just retread and do another first one, you
But
have to go somewhere.
one of the things that got me, and I understand that Abby's a big character, and they led with her in the
Mhm.
beginning of the episode, and they closed with her at the end of the episode. But one of the things that gets me about these post-apocalyptic world type shows, where like the zombie type things are supposed to be the main threat, why do we have to add other threats? Like, why does she? I understand she wants revenge because Joel killed her father. I get it, but why do we need that extra storyline? Because I feel like that's gonna be more of a story, like that threat over the cordyceps outbreak in this season.
I don't know, I just feel like if that's the only thing you're doing is like Monster of the Week kinda deal, where that just gets boring.
You think
Frankly,
that?
yeah, I mean, you have to explore. It's like The Walking Dead. I mean, who are The Walking Dead? It's Rick Grimes and his crew are The Walking Dead, not the zombies. Like, that's eventually he says in the comics, "We're The Walking Dead." Like, you don't make a show like The Walking Dead and have it last for 10 plus years like it did, and if all it was just like, "Oh, now there's a zombie in a convenience store. Oh, now there's a few zombies walking down the street. Oh, now we're in a abandoned school and there's a fat zombie." Like, it's just you can't keep doing
Let's
can't
see with
keep doing
The
that.
Walking Dead. I bailed after 3 seasons. Like
Yeah, because
that
I
was
think
something.
sometimes it was
Yeah,
that.
I was like, you know what, that's enough. I think I left after the season with the I think it was the mayor with the town. So I left
Right.
before they even got into the Negan storylines. So and that's kind of an insight in me.
There's
So
honestly, there's times for good or bad, there's times during this second story where I even forget we're in like I mean, you're in an apocalypse, but it feels it's been apocalyptic for a while now. You know what I mean? Like this is many years past the original occurrence. And to me, human beings, we adapt and we get used to heinous stuff. And eventually, yeah, you would see a zombie and just be like, whatever,
but
because
would
you've
you
already
turn it into
killed
skeet
a
shooting?
hundred of them. Would
I
you
feel like that
turn to what?
turn it into skeet shooting? I mean, when her and
Yeah, I think so. If you're that young too. If you think of Ellie, Ellie's only known a post-apocalyptic world, right? She
okay.
doesn't have memories of what stuff was like before. So, seeing a cordyceps zombie, roll down the street is like, it's not very shocking. You know what I mean? Like you see her like training with the gun. She's like, we open up and she's doing like MMA fighting, and
Yeah.
she's like with Tommy doing like sniper training. Like she's very formidable. Clearly, like her and Dina were able to handle themselves, and they feel confident enough to go in there guns ablaze, well, not guns ablaze, but knives
They
ablazing.
went with knives.
Um,
And I feel like there's no repercussions. Okay, so, like, they go out and
mm,
apparently they completely are, I guess, always just disobeying what they're supposed to be doing, and these 2 are able just to go ahead and do it without the city council having any type of reins or control over them. I almost feel like if this was I don't wanna say realistic because 'cause we're not in a realistic world, but if there was
right,
any
right.
if we were any if the I feel like they would've gotten the boot. Like, "You're putting all of us in danger. You've gotta go," type
Yeah, I
situation.
I do I do get that part. If they were out on their own and being goofy like that, then that's one thing. But since they're part of a team and there's rules and they have a team lead, And I mean, you've been in the military. You don't go
Yeah.
out and act like that. Yeah, you're right. You would be peeling potatoes back at base
Yeah, there's
and
some
not
type
doing
of yeah,
anything.
yeah, throwback
So
or
I
yeah,
I
kickback.
do get that. I just think that was more of an exploration of kind of where they are. I'll say this: we're not going to have a season full of them going out and doing hijinks. I'll say this: there was one episode of that just to reintroduce us to kind of where we are and catch us up over 5 years. But there's some stuff coming where there's not going to be
Well, I
stuff
mean,
like
the end
that.
of this, well, towards the end of this episode, well, I seen it, and I was shocked how flippant they were about it. Those clay pipes that were coming through the town that had vines in them, and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I remember the last time we seen vines, they had those like feelers on them. That basically
Yeah,
that's how all the herd or the horde moved was by that telling them where to go. So
yeah,
seeing that when the kids dropped the sparklers, I guess at New Year's Eve or the end of the night, and
yeah.
them moving, I'm like, that's not good.
That's new, by the way. That
Was it?
threat, because what does that say? That basically the first season told us, and that this whole concept too of the underground fungus system where hordes are able to sense things from distances because of this underground network of fungus.
Yeah.
Right, that was not in the game. That's not a game thing. So that whole thing is new. And for them to introduce like this is a potential threat where Jackson, Wyoming may get attacked by a horde because of this, like that was not Jackson was never attacked in the game. So they're I think they're deviating a bit from the game story, which I appreciate as a viewer of that story. I'm glad that I'm not totally spoiled by it. So that I think that'll be interesting. I think there's just a lot of setup in this episode, and I'm curious to see how you take the payoff because it sounds like you weren't a big fan of the setup so far.
No, and I think it was almost it was also a product of the length of time it took between season 1 and season 2. Like, since I
Yeah.
don't have any connection to the game, I'm like, "Okay, you know what? I enjoyed season 1. Let's jump into season 2. It's 9 o'clock. Let's go. Let's watch it." And, I mean, I'll give one thing. Ellie walking through the grocery store as she fell through, and that one crawling, like, when
Mm,
they're focused on her and they basically walk past the shelf and
that
then
was
you
cool.
see it,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool, and the fact that it didn't run at her. Now, okay,
Right.
is that something did they evolve in the game? Or is this evolution happening basically just for the TV show?
I can't remember if because I think there is a creeper, because they give all the different cordyceps nicknames, like the big bloater and like the when they have different one, like the clicker or the
Clickers, yeah.
whatever. Yeah. They give them different like distinctual nicknames, and I think there was one called a creeper where they are like more silent, basically, where they're kind of more like hunters. And I think that's what this is portraying as. So yeah, there are variations of those in the games. And I think you only run into them once or twice in the first game, but you run into them quite often in the second game.
Okay, yeah, because that was that. I mean, I'm not a horror guy. And when I first
Yeah.
seen him, I was like, "Oh, was that a cat?" I thought maybe just something stupid that was gonna jump. Well, I thought it was gonna be one of
Right.
those cheap jump scares.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then when you see him kind of walking on their hands and knees, I'm like, "Oh, that's not good."
Yeah, it's
So,
unsettling, yeah.
and when it freaked her out, when it freaked Ellie out, that's when I was like, "Okay, this is something new that she hasn't
Well,
seen."
because it changes up tactics, right? Because she was literally like, "Come at me," like, run towards me so I can get a good shot on you,
Yeah.
basically, and it's apparently that kinda thing has worked before, but for this thing to disappear on her and be able to, like, attack her like a velociraptor from the side,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
right.
that's like a clever girl, you know? That was interesting, that was a cool thing.
I don't know. So okay, so you got my opinion on it. What when you finished watching it as someone that knows the game, what was your opinion on that first episode?
I was into it. I'm like, "This is how you set up a season of TV." And you're right, the 5-year jump is jarring, but I had the game I think there actually was a 5-year gap in between the 2 games or even longer. Like, you know how long it takes to make video games, like,
Yeah.
there might have been, like, a 7 or 8-year gap between video games, so a 5-year gap in the story didn't feel as jarring because it was a long time between the 2 stories, when this was just I think just 2 years, right? It came out in
Yeah, I
2023.
think it's about 2, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little jarring to have that kind of a gap, to have Um, I'm trying to remember how I felt. I think I did feel that way. See, that's the thing about this. I forget the creator, but the writing that he has is
It's
that
Neil, not Gaiman, Neil, yeah.
Neil
Anyway,
Neil Diamond, Neil Diamond, Lou Diamond Phillips. um,
Neil, Druckmann.
okay,
Druckmann.
there you go. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the original game was so transformative because, like I said, it was a very simple story. It's another zombie video game. Those are a dime a dozen. But because of the characterization and the quality of storytelling that that game had, it elevated it, and they went even further with the storytelling, with a more complex storytelling in the second game, and that's why think that's why it was so divisive. We may honestly, we may have a season where I'm loving it and you may not be loving it so much
Well,
because I know it's coming.
that's what I hear. It's like what I know of is what they've set up this season was it's a certain point, Obi-Wan from a certain point of view. You
Mhm.
know what? So I'm guessing if you're looking at it in Abby's eyes, she's the good guy because Joel did her wrong. I guess if you're looking in Joel's eyes, he's the good guy because he saved Abby. Not Abby, I'm sorry,
Or
Ellie.
saved Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess then you have I'm not sure exactly how Ellie's point of view is going to be because I'm pretty sure it's going to hit the fan for her too at some point. So
Mhm.
whoever's eyes, or I guess whoever's character you're playing, is the one that's in the right.
That's a part of the second game is that you see this story from multiple sides, because they even, like, go back and redo scenes where you're playing as a different character, and you see where that character what they did leading up to that scene that we've seen before, and it fills in all these backstories, and it kinda jumps in time and different points of time and stuff. So it's more complex as far as the story goes, than the first game and the first season. I think we're in for a ride because not only is the story itself gonna be more complex this time around, but in the game, I feel like the cordyceps monsters, the zombies kinda took a back seat to the story when it seems like they weren't sure how that would play for a television audience, and they're gonna try to fit a larger looming threat. I think that's why we see the cordyceps crawling through the pipeline as this, like, looming threat of them coming to Jackson.
Yeah.
To try to because I think there's gonna be more stuff to maybe hopefully fulfill some of that, desire to see, just shooting some monsters, keep that threat alive.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm curious. I'm really
Because 'Cause I'll tell you
I won't lie. I'm not looking forward. Like when it ended, I wasn't like looking forward to the next episode. But
that second game, you fight more people than you do zombies.
really,
That's how much the
so is it kind of
story.
like Resident Evil 2 almost in theory? 'Cause I feel like
I can't even compare it to Resident Evil 2 because it's just like Resident Evil 2 is just Resident Evil 1, but in a police station. And you have 2 different characters instead of the
yeah, I guess
one.
it's
But
more
even the first one,
contained. Yeah.
you had Chris and Jill, so it's even kind of the same. This is, um this is I don't know even honestly, this is more Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. Like,
Interesting.
Star Wars simple fairy tale, introduce a kinda thing that was just like, "Oh, that simple fairy tale, simple story, but it's elevated because it introduced all these cool, lightsaber, well, that's neat."
Yeah.
And, all this, cool spaceships and stuff, right? And then Empire Strikes Back is okay, like, "Okay, we're in this world now, we've already taught you what these things are. Now let's really just, like, kinda blow your mind a little bit." Right? I feel like it's more like that as opposed to just kind of a generic sequel.
Are we gonna get a bunch of flashbacks, you think, to fill in this 5-year time? Because they show when
Yes.
Joel's sitting there with the therapist, you hear about him killing her husband, the second pair of boots that is sitting there. Uh, I guess they got to tell us what went wrong between him and Ellie.
Yeah.
So there's got to be things they fill in, but frankly, I don't want to go backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards,
I
backwards,
know, that's
forwards.
always I know, me too. I always feel like that could be if it's done correctly, you could do it in a way that's really entertaining and satisfying for the viewer, but it's such a slippery slope, the whole timey-wimey stuff, where you don't know if you do it too much or too loosely, then you open up you start watching, you don't know where you're at,
Mhm.
when you're at, like, you have to, like, constantly be catching up to what you're watching, and that's no good either. So to really I have faith that they'll be able to do it, in a good way rather than a bad way, but only time will tell. I don't know, so far it's only been 1 episode, and you were like, you're already wanting to check out, and I'm
Mm.
like, "Oh, I'm in for the ride."
So this is gonna be interesting. So I'm in for the ride. I'm
Yeah,
just I'm hanging on to the tube that's connected to the tailgate behind the truck in the flood. I'm just holding on.
yeah, that's so funny.
But okay. I mean, I think it's this is gonna be interesting because I've heard, like you were even saying, people either loved or hated the second game because of the way
Yeah,
because of the way characters went in the second game. Not so much because of the
mhm,
gameplay, but because of storyline, which is
mhm,
interesting.
yeah.
I may find myself in that like I can't stand this because this is not what I want type situation.
Yeah, I think there is some of that, like how people were just mad that Luke Skywalker was just a grumpy old man sipping green milk from the teat of an alien. Like, this is not what I signed up for after all these years, you know?
Lightsaber,
Um,
wee.
yeah, I think there's a little bit of that, and we'll see how it lands. We'll
Awesome.
see.
Well, I guess we'll find out what next week, 9 o'clock. We have seven. See, it's only 7 episodes though, too. I mean, granted, they're giving us an
Including
hour.
this one, there's only 6 more?
Yeah, there's a total. I think a total of 7 episodes as a whole,
Oh, wow, okay.
and it's shorter than the first season. So I remember the day it was shorter. Yeah, because first season was a total of 9. Yeah, so we're getting 2 fewer this season.
No kidding. Okay.
So I mean, they better be ready to give us something. We got to get going. If you're only giving us so many
Well,
episodes,
you know what? Here's the thing is that I did hear that they are splitting up the second game into 2 seasons.
yes,
So this season, we're only getting half of that story that I'm talking about. And here's the thing too, when you have unlike The Walking Dead, which they were just like, "Well, let's just make 30 damn seasons of this thing and just keep pushing and milking it and go beyond the comic books and just, like, give Daryl his own show, give Michonne her own show."
yeah. I mean, they got like
The
yes, what, 5 different spinoffs now.
Yeah, they just went nuts with it. Unlike that, this seems to be very, like, this is a 3-season deal, and, like, we're in even 'cause I don't think the guy's even gonna make another, like, The Last of Us 3. Like, I don't think
Oh, you
he's
don't think
just
they're
like,
gonna pull a Game of Thrones and keep going beyond George R. R. Martin's content? If this is making money,
"No,
they're not pull.
I
HBO's
don't
got
think
a
so."
history of it.
They do, but see, the difference is that the author himself is like, "No, there's no more story to tell," versus George R. R. Martin, where it's like, "No, there is more story, I just haven't written it yet." You know what I mean? Like, I think this guy has kinda like, um, even though this is a bad example, because apparently Ted Lasso's coming back, but you know how Jason Sudeikis was like, "I have a vision for 3 seasons, and this is it,"
Yeah,
and they pretty much tried to stick to that, and,
it's a
but you're
money
right,
maker.
you know
That's the
what?
thing.
Here
The
they
money
were
will make more
successful, and
episodes. I mean, who
Ted
knows?
Lasso
We
came
may find
forth,
another
and
family that lives down in the Keys that's surviving differently during this whole thing.
I know, that kinda bums me out because 'cause I'm like, I much prefer stuff that's just like, if you got a story to tell, tell it, have a beginning, middle, and
And
end,
that's
and
exactly what I was like with Ted Lasso. Do not ruin it. Do not milk it till it's dead. Let it finish on a high. So
right.
I guess we'll find out next week to see exactly, what my opinion is of it then. If I come back and if I'm
I'm
like,
curious. If you can't make it past if you still are feeling this way in an episode 2, then I think you and I are in for a wild ride as far as just talking about our feelings on this show.
okay, well that's cool. Well, let's. What do you have anything happening like in between now and our next episode? Do you have any like family events happening? Any like work
Oh,
events or anything?
hell no, not work events. We don't do crap. Work event. We're a
Work
company
events
of like
came
10
out, and I
people.
don't know why that even came out.
Do you have any work events besides them
I,
making you go back to the office?
I just hope I'm not fired every day working for the VA.
Yeah.
Who knows? My event
Yeah.
is I get to go to my office. That's my event.
Right. No, there is a local con here this upcoming Saturday, Louisville Con, that me and my daughter are gonna go to. She randomly out of the blue. Well, I guess not out of the blue. She was making a homemade costume. She'd been making like masks and stuff, and then recently she made her version of a Five Nights at Freddy character. It's not one of the animatronics, but like one of the people in that story. And she was making it and she was doing a good job. And she was like, Papa, is there any Comic Con coming up? And I was like, well, let me look. It turns out a month from now there's a Louisville Con. So I'm taking her. It's not a very big one. It's real tiny, in fact. I didn't even recognize any of the celebrity guests that are showing up.
Well, something that may be cool to go find an actual, some art, some
Yeah, yeah.
collectibles, some ones that aren't overly like just swamped. Like a lot of the stuff I got
Right.
behind me. You can see my turtles over here on the wall. I got my Vader right behind me. I think right over
Hmm.
there. That's
That's
all
it.
like Comic Con stuff. That's one of a kind type stuff. That's the stuff I like.
Yeah.
I don't like the mass produced stuff.
Well, I'm hoping there's vendors there for sure, and I'll report next time we hop on here, see how that goes.
Yeah, and when next weekend is Easter, and
Yeah.
Zach and I, we kind of led into this. We're big Columbus Crew fans. We got season tickets. We've been holders for a few seasons now, and they decided to move their game to Cleveland because if you're a soccer fan, you know the name of Lionel Messi, and we can only sell maybe 25,000 tickets in our stadium. So let's move it to the Brown Stadium. 3 hours away from where I'm at on Easter
Right.
weekend. So that's going to be our like little thing. We're going up there. We're getting a hotel. He actually has bowling in the morning, and he bowls until about noon. It's his last morning, so I'm like, you have to be done at noon. It's a 3-hour trip up there. We got to park, get our hotel room, walk over to the stadium. It's gonna be a day. I know that
Yeah.
much. And if we have enough time, you may walk over to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Make a day out of it.
we may see what time the game is over, and just the works. Let's have fun up there.
Cleveland
He's never seen the
rocks.
lake before either.
When did you and I go? You and I went up there for a concert. What concert was it?
We know we didn't go to the concert. We were the
Yeah, it was
chaperones.
for Brandon. Who was playing though?
He went to see ICP.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
Wow.
we went to a sketchy side of town. The reason we did it was because the person who was supposed to drive them flaked because of weather.
Right.
And they gave my mom and this other person gave us $100 to drive them up there, and we went to the swankiest freaking steakhouse downtown.
This was probably like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
By the way.
we're talking a ways back.
Oh
So,
my god. Oh my god, we're so old.
but yeah, that's what I've got going on. The Easter deal on Sunday, but that's gonna be a little delayed because I'm gonna be rolling home. Rolling.
That's God. Yeah. You want to show your age a little more there, Grandpa?
Well, that's all I've got, man. You got anything extra before we wrap this up? And
That's it. Dad and Rock's back. We're going to be here on a weekly basis. Try our best to, life happens sometimes, but we're going to be here as much as we can. We're planning on doing it Monday nights to talk about The Last of Us while that's on. From there, we'll talk about more stuff. I don't know. And I know before we did kind of coverage of shows specifically, and I know a lot of our viewers tune into that. But we started out as a channel and a podcast to talk about family stuff and just what we had going on. We kind of want to try to get back to that. We got a little lost in the sauce as far as just talking about episodes of TV shows.
yeah.
We're gonna still do that, but
we're not going to be
we're
purely dedicated to that. We're gonna
we're
got some ideas, maybe some streaming some games online, and just some random things that we can do. I think we still want to do our trailer reactions, but we haven't even done them in a while. Really, we had to take a step back from doing this because I think the fun was gone for us.
Yeah,
So we had to find some time to get away to reconnect and have a good time doing this.
Yeah, it'll be a mix of stuff from now on, kind of a hodgepodge of stuff for our weekly shows. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, guys. Well, I think that's about all we got. And so until we see you see us next week, I guess happy Easter and then enjoy your week.
Happy Easter. We'll see you.